numerous roads that we can walk down here. Where would you like to start in the debate?
I want to start here because I'm going to just quickly go back to the All-Star incident with the 4 Canadian tenors down in San Diego.
Okay.
One guy wanted to make a statement.
Right.
Didn't really tell anyone else he was going to do it, and they were kind of drawn into it.
Right.
Whether they wanted to be or not, they weren't asked. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, I don't disagree with a single thing that kid said, and I applaud him because it wasn't one of those he did something, took some heat and said, you know what, it's kind of a personal thing, I don't want to talk about it. He had something to say.
Right.
And he said it in a way that made me understand what he was thinking. Whether you like it or not, I understand where this kid's coming from. And he's dealt with racial profiling before in his life in college with a roommate. There's a lot to the story. Then that's kind of the road he's going down here as well. I'm only interested in anyone else on that roster who is African American. Somebody looking at them now and saying, okay, so what's your deal? You don't want to do that? Why not? Why don't you sit? You disagree with what he's saying? That to me is an interesting angle to this. Mm-hmm. Because it's a big statement he's making. And he said he didn't ask anyone's permission to do this. Right. He decided to do it. He didn't need anyone's permission. I think this brings other people on that roster into a very interesting light. And some of them didn't ask to be put in that light. And I'm wondering how they're reacting to it.
But isn't the point of protest to draw attention to something?
Correct.
Like, I don't think he walked into it thinking this may... You know what's really interesting about this is that we've seen it before. Carlos Delgado did it because he opposed the Gulf War, didn't stand up for God Bless America. Yeah. Did it for a while before people noticed. Mahmoud Abdul-Ruaf did it in the NBA. People didn't even notice until someone else brought attention to it. And while he was in civies, no one noticed for 2 games while Kaepernick sat until someone pointed it out. And it seems to me like the level of the protest, as soon as people recognize it, becomes way different than the initial. Even this, and like I don't understand when the national anthem solely represented the military. Like, can't you support, which Kaepernick has said, a couple of different guys went after him about the military and honoring the military with the national anthem. And he said, I love and respect what the military does to guard these freedoms. Isn't democracy the right to do what Kaepernick is doing right now?
Absolutely.
Like, don't you fight for the right to have civilized dialogue on a topic and then be able to move on from it?
But when this happens, it's interesting to me because to go with what you're saying, people say they like free speech unless they don't like free speech.
Unless they don't like what you're saying.
Period.
But that's
ignorant.
That's the embodiment of democracy, of civilized society.
You can
to
say
be
what you
able to
want.
disagree with somebody. But that doesn't fit into our narrative right now.
No.
It doesn't fit into the narrative on here where you have to say it in 140 characters and you have to say it as strong as you possibly can. And it doesn't fit into the narrative south of the border and increasingly north of the border where when you have to go on TV, you have to go with an opinion. You can't have an intelligent conversation where you weigh sides and walking away, hopefully learning something. If you don't want to hear a dissenting voice, you don't have to hear a dissenting voice. My point on this is simply, I don't know when. I love that the national anthem is played before a game. As a guy who once lined up on a field and had it played, it was the coolest thing ever that you would represent your country in play. It meant you were big time. It was celebrating your country. But you can also have disagreements within the way that country's run. That's the basis of democracy. And it seems like people just want to yell and scream, black and white, no pun intended, on every topic. And this is just the latest in a bunch of hot button topics that distract you from the real thing.
Yeah. I don't disagree with a thing you said.
Josh echoes what you said, and he said, democracy is the freedom of speech so long as it doesn't offend anyone. Hashtag living in 2016. Rob writes in and says, hey guys, the flag is supposed to be impartial of politics. Many people have died under these flags, and you must pay your respect. Mike Shara wrote in and said, please explain to me what Kaepernick's protest has to do with the military. He's speaking about racial injustice. to which Bowley kind of sort of related to. Funny, America doesn't do much for their servicemen and women either. Ask the vets. That's the part that confused me the most about this, was how the anthem became about honoring this. Like, was it 9/11 when that all changed and baseball and football became the part where you heal from the wounds inflicted? Like, is that when it became about just honoring the military?
The 2004 election was a big moment in U.S. politics that way.
Right.
Because after 9/11, they passed every law they wanted to pass, and everyone's privacy was completely thrown in the garbage in the name of security. And then past
But I'm
that,
saying where that
the
was
flag
in the
became
game.
about veterans more than at any other point in American history.
Because it's supposed to represent all of the United States, all of Canada, whatever country you're in, not just the military. And you know, the military in the United States, if all of the people who are weighing in on this and saying you need to respect the servicemen and women lent a hand to those servicemen and women, we'd all be better. The numbers of suicide among among veterans is devastating. And from accounts of one a day to up to the VA in the United States put out a number that 22 vets are committing suicide a day. Now, people have disputed this number, but if it's all about that and all these people yelling and screaming,
Even if disputed the number, even if it's 18,
it's
what does it
disgusting.
matter? Like, it's disgusting either way.
If it's one,
it doesn't matter. Like,
it's disgusting.
I mean, but there are people.
And yet we have all these wounded warrior programs that go with very little to no funding, while everyone wants to make this political issue me screaming louder than the other.
But America's the place where people who are angry at Colin Kaepernick are the same politicians who voted down bills to help people suffering from respiratory illnesses around Ground Zero in New York to support them and their families, but vote down the bill.
Right.
Like, America's just a twisted place that way, man. But people wrap themselves around the military and the flag to make him look dumb. It's wrong.
Right.
Everyone respects the military. I don't care where you are. To paint the kid like that is a crime.
Yeah.
It is a crime to do that to him, considering what he's trying to do. And what he's trying to do is not connected with respect to the military. But that's the way America and some other aspects of society.
And you don't have to be one to be the other. That's the part that bugs me.
Well, welcome to America.
Right?
Yeah.